last but not least, we are so blessed this morning to have two beautiful speakers with us. One of them in particular has worked with Xavier. She works with the varsity volleyball girls. Lamar has her come in and help with the girls and kind of help balance their lives a little bit. But I met her kind of randomly a few years ago, and we just absolutely fell in love, because for those of you that don't know me, my energy is crazy and I come on really strong, I know it. And I met her and she's almost the same. And I was like, wow, you get me? Like, you don't think I'm weird? And when we see each other, I mean, we're like screaming and jumping up and down, and just a beautiful human being. So when I thought about speakers that we could have here that would really be great, that hopefully would be relatable and resonate, her and her partner now, well, her business partner, they are co-founders of Girls Mentorship. So I thought they work with kids, all of the kids in our age group, very closely, and they do a lot of things in the community. Their whole business is centered around youth and young women. So it was perfect to have them here. So I would love to introduce them to you. First off is my dear friend, and the one that matches my energy. Oh, I think they both do now, because I just met Mary, and I'm so excited. Oh, the cell phone, it's already, Tara, it was Tara's. Oh, silence your silence your cell phones, please. Out of respect for the speakers. Yes, silence them, please. Okay, so now that we're all silenced, I would love to introduce Jill Peterson, who is a wife and mother of two boys, and I will tell you, she seeks fun in everything that she does. Jill holds a BA in Interdisciplinary Studies, Communication and Mass Communications from ASU. She received a certificate in Mindfulness and Leadership from ASU in 2018. Now, I hope you all know that every single one of us in this room has a superpower. Did you know that? Every single one of us has a superpower. And if you don't know what it is, I really hope you find what it is, because every single one of us does. But I'm gonna tell you what Jill's is, and my phone is being so funky, I am so sorry. So Jill's superpower is, oh goodness, come on phone. It lies within connecting and building trust quickly with others to help people find their greatness. How amazing is that? Secondly, we have the beautiful Mary Francis, who is an experienced coach and leader. She has a BS in exercise and wellness, also from ASU. She started her entrepreneurship journey as a gym owner, where she's worked with hundreds of kids, teens, and adults. She uses her interesting, tumultuous past, dealing with family trauma, CPS, a broken home, all of which have led her to a strong desire to break the mold and assist others every single day of her life. So together they make Girls Mentorship, and we are so privileged to have them with us today, Jill and Mary.
We work with teenage girls.
I used to own a gym. I yell at people all the time, so my voice, much like Yvette's energy, my energy came in just as hot when Jill and I met. We joke about that. It's like, I have a big personality and Jill has a big personality, and God was like, let's put the two of them together and see what happens. Could have been dangerous. Turns out it's been pretty cool so far.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be here. Yvette, thank you. Where are you? I saw it. There she is. Thank you for that beautiful intro. We're going to get into exactly who we are and why we're here. But honestly, Mary and I, every time we get in front of people to speak, we need a second to just take you all in. Because what we know is that you came here for a reason. You're getting out of your own way. You had a lot of probably excuses and reasons why you didn't want to come here.
So many logistics, probably
Logistics,
had to
kids,
come into play,
sports,
right?
spouses. right? There's so many factors that could have kept you home, and we don't take that for granted. So truly, your presence is our greatest gift today. And if we can give back just in a small way to elevate this experience, we've done our job.
And really, in checking in with Yvette when we first got here, it sounds like you all have had an incredible time thus far, and what we're here to bring is just an elevation of that experience. It sounds like what we're going to talk about today really adds on to what you already have been working on, which makes us feel really good about what we've prepared to come here. As Yvette said, we work with teens all day, every day. We get a lot of teens. It's an incredible part of our life, and there's a lot of different things that we could focus on. We could be like the squirrels running around in the woods, but what we chose to bring to the table today feels like it's going to resonate really well, and it's going right in conjunction with the theme, right? Still I rise. So we wanted to point out, believing that anything is possible. When I rise, you rise. When Jill gets better as a person, as an individual, she not only rises her family, she helps me rise as well, right? And that's what we want you to take away from this, is because you came here, because you prioritize, because you put everything else on the back burner for this weekend, you're rising. And when you go home, you get to pour back into your family. You get to pour back into your girls. I'm sure some of you have sons as well, and you get to pour back into them, and that's what's so cool about taking time for yourself, for your own personal growth and development journey. So like Jill said, thank you for making it happen. We know you didn't hire us to be here, but thanks for being willing to hear us speak.
And before we get into what we're going to be talking about more today, we would love to hear what you guys have already gotten out of this so far. We like to call them golden nuggets or a jot, just one thing. What's been your thing that's really resonated with you, or maybe woke you up? Or maybe it's been a ping for you to lean in a little bit more. We would love to hear, just so that we know, okay, we're coming in and we're on the same playing field. So don't speak all at once.
And feel free not to raise your hand, just shout it out.
Shout it out.
What have you garnered so far? Connection, okay?
New people.
New people. We get to meet new faces, okay?
Little things matter for our girls.
Yes, they do. Yeah, amazing. Say that again.
Kindness.
Kindness matters for sure.
Yeah.
They listen to us more than we think.
Ooh, don't they ever?
Okay, we're
They're
gonna
sponges, honey.
put that in our pocket and pull it back out for later.
Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
ma'am. Yeah.
Anything else? Love.
Love.
A lot of it.
We're raising strong, amazing young women, as evidenced last night.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Okay.
All of you are.
Also, that just gave me full body chills, but also when Yvette was giving us a little bit of a download about what's been going on, we heard that your daughters sent you a video. And I'm sure that probably felt extraordinary to receive those words, because sometimes me specifically as a mom too, you're like, are they listening? Are they listening?
Can I get credit anywhere? Am I doing the right thing?
So I hope you received that. I hope that those words just penetrated every cell and fiber of your being, because what we want you to know is you are enough. You're doing enough. You are enough. And like you said, you're raising the next generation of female leaders.
And that's what's important to us. That's why we came in, because we know what we lacked growing up. And really just coming from, I'm 34, Jill is 36, we have turned around now and given so much back to our mothers. I think the realization happens late 20s. I'm sure a lot of you can resonate with that. It's like, oh yeah, my mom was maybe kind of right about 95% of the things that she ever told us.
Oh man, just you guys wait for those phone calls.
You gotta wait for
What
those
is
phone
that
calls.
gonna happen?
But it's been really important to us to see where we had areas of opportunity growing up, things that we either were lagging in, skills that were just a little slower on the uptake, or skills that were completely lacking, and we wanted to be able to turn around and give that to the girls that we were, quite frankly. And we've had an incredible opportunity to do that. I think we've worked with over 2,000 girls. We work at Xavier, we work with Scottsdale Christian Academy, we're in talks with Notre Dame Prep. We host so many things on our own, and it's just been so incredible to take our experiences or lack thereof and be able to give back. So know that we're speaking from a place of real world experience, not only personally from our past. There's a dog coming in. Yay! Oh, he said too many ladies in there. I was so happy about that.
He's like, whoa, they're getting deep.
Everybody was. A place of our own personal experience, but also getting to work with girls specifically and really feeling like we get to be a part of families now. We get phone calls and texts, I mean, all the time. Can you help us do this? Can you say that? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what I'm doing. It's pretty wild how we've been inundated into people's families. So with that said, hi, my name's Mary. This is Jill.
I'm Jill.
A lot of people call me Jill. A lot of people call her Mary. We are the same person at this point in our relationship. You've all got friends like that. We're your friends, and then your business partners. And I basically live at her house.
She's my sister wife at this point.
Really?
My husband's locked and loaded with 2 ladies. You know,
Her husband's like, I didn't know I married 2 Jills. This is okay then. So we are speakers. Obviously, we are our podcast hosts. We're the co-founders of a company called Girls Mentorship, and we specialize in social emotional learning. That is kind of a buzzword right now. How many of you have heard of social emotional learning? More hands than we've gotten in the last 5 talks that we've done. So great. Social emotional learning is your EQ. It's your street smarts. It's the feelings side of learning as opposed to the book smarts. Because realistically,
it's knowing how to people.
It's knowing how to people. Realistically, you're not going to be able to take a math test if you've got a dumpster fire going on at home. The focus piece of that, being able to focus on school, happens when there's harmony in the household or congruency between those 2 things. So basically, we teach girls how to be their best, brightest, and most confident selves. And in that, we get to work with teachers, school districts, superintendents, parents, just like you, like I said. Today's conversation, we want to be focused on goals, but goals done in a completely different way than I think all of us have been conditioned to think about goals.
This picture is something that we bring to our girls, and now we're turning it to families and teams and parents so that we all can be in the same conversation. So social emotional learning means that you are a lifelong learner. It's not that, I already got life down, I'm good. I mean, when we talk to older men, women, you can't teach a dog new tricks. We're always like, we're gonna challenge that. We absolutely can. So having that growth mindset, you are a lifelong learner, regardless of how old you are. And that's when we get stuck. We get stuck when, on the right-hand side, that arrow is pointing to a goal, and it's pointing to an outcome or a result. So it's like, okay, yeah, got that goal, move on. And when we teach people, girls, about goals, we want it to be cyclical. Yes, having an outcome or a result that you're working towards is incredible. But what happens when that goal is over and then you move on to the next? We oftentimes forget about what it took to get us to that goal, the process. We're so quick to either say, I failed, or cool, I got that goal, on to the next. So not only are we going to talk about goals, but this really reflects your mindset too. We want you to have an open, expansive mindset. We might bring things to you that you're like, yeah, been there, done that, I already know this stuff. And we want you to we are inviting you to just sit with this conversation or to lean into it a little bit more so that you can learn something new for yourself, which will then impact everybody else around you.
Right, because what we heard over here was that our girls are watching us more than we think they're watching us. They're listening to us more than we think they're listening to us. So if we're berating ourselves or beating ourselves down or breezing past a goal or whatever comes of that, they're listening to us. They're mimicking our every single move.
And how do we know that?
Because we work with them and we hear it.
Exactly.
We hear it every
We hear
single
it.
day.
And ladies, I mean, we don't want to scare you. And this might not be you.
It's already scary.
I know. But parents seek out our services because they say that their daughter lacks confidence. And then when we peel back the layers, they learn certain skills and behaviors from their environment. And not to say that it's the parent's fault. We're not here judging or shaming
Or to make anybody wrong.
We're here to turn the light on in you so that your self-awareness is so on point. It's on fire. You're mindful about it in order to know how it's coming across to your daughter.
And what Jill just said, self-awareness. That's the basis for everything we do with our girls. Foundation, foundation, foundation. Because if they don't understand how they're showing up, they can't see where they're getting in their own way, or where they might be bumping up against something that's hard and they're giving up because it's hard and they don't know why. So that self-awareness, that's something we really, really, really like to harp on because it's so important for us to sharpen our own self-awareness in order to understand how we're showing up. A lot of the time, like Jill just said, we get parents that bring girls to us that say something along the lines of, she's broken in this department, fix her. And realistically, where does that come from? We have to turn the mirror onto ourselves and understand where our shortcomings are or where our gifts are in order to be able to give her those and help her get past the roadblocks that she will come up against in her life. Not once, not twice, probably 1,000 times, whether you're there to help her or whether you're not there to help her, right? We're looking to set her up for success because realistically, 18 years is a very small amount of time, and I know you're all aware of that. Time seems to go faster and faster and faster. It's freaking October 1st.
Well, and my senior moms, I bet you guys are already like, ah!
Right.
Oh, she's already left the nest already in your mind. I'm sure it's happened in a blink of an eye.
So we want you to remember this page from our slide throughout the entire presentation. And goals for today's conversation. We like to call ourselves 4-point preachers. We obviously, like we said, work with teens. We got to give them a very clear roadmap of where we're going to keep them engaged with what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're going to touch on understanding that y'all are human beings, not human doings. We're really going to get into that one because we can confuse those two things very easily when our blinders are on and our to-do list is long and all we're thinking about when our feet hit the ground in the morning is what we need to be doing to get to the end of the day.
The second point that we want to talk about is the concept of choice. So what does that mean? How does that look like in our life? And choice allows you to be on a quest to find purpose and to differentiate that from your potential. And I know some of you, my moms in here, who are like, purpose and potential? I mean, that ship has sailed a long time ago. I want you to let that thought go. I want you to release that thought and just be with us here and now. And for those of you who might be sitting in your chair being like, I have no idea what my purpose even is, welcome. You two are also going to have hopefully some pretty aha moments about what you're doing now is serving you and setting you up for great success.
We're also going to examine all of life's experiences. A lot happens in our lifetime, right? And are we thinking that those things are happening to us? Are we adopting the mindset that those things are actually happening for us? Because in the moment, it could be really difficult to differentiate between those two things. It can be really easy to play the victim and think that life is happening to us instead of for us. But Jill just touched on that last point. It's knowing that where you are now can either really hinder your future self or really set your future self up for success. So four things to touch on today. And why is this important? Why is this entire conversation important from our point of view?
Well, because a lot of times this is how we run our lives. This is how we show up in our lives. Sometimes we feel like our hair's on fire. I'm a mom. I feel like my hair's on fire half the time. But then, thank goodness I practice this work and I realize I'm in control of what I'm in control of. But a lot of times, there's so many of us are unaware that we're unaware of how we're showing up in our lives. So tell me if you relate to any of these points. This is the picture of my life. I'm going to speak from place of I, and I would like some friends to maybe come along with me. Oh my gosh, if those of you who work, and even stay-at-home moms, my goodness, we have so much to do. How many of us say we're so busy? We have too much on our plate. I can't meet up with you. I have so much to do. Because we're running such a crazy schedule. Not only yourself, you're juggling your family, your husband's work schedule, yada, yada, yada. And that adds a lot of pressure. And then what happens, God, if you slept poorly? I heard that there was maybe some little mice running around in your cabins, right? And we're asking you guys to show up. God forbid you're sick or you're hormonal, but we ask you, man, show up. You better show up, even if you're experiencing you not feeling 100%. What happens if you get that email, that 911 urgent email? It's the end of the day. I'm on to my daughter's volleyball game. And it's like, whoa, you have to put out that fire. Those unexpected challenges.
From the people that challenge you the most. Maybe you're sitting next to one of them right now. I don't know. However, we all have people that challenge us in our life, and some of them are closest to us. Could be our husbands, could be our kids in that moment, but we still have to deal with it, right? And then lastly, who has to figure out dinner every day for the rest of your life? For every It's like, hey mom, what's for dinner? And we're like, I don't know. Figure it out, right? It's like the picture of life. There is a lot that you have to do in your life. And that can really put you on this hamster wheel, this rat race with your blinders on, your head down, and that's when you forget that you have to show up as who you are. Insert name here, before mom, before wife, before friend, before sister, before all the other titles, there was a you. You are a person too, and that's what we tend to forget when our houses are on fire. And I'm not just talking about the housing market.
For those of you who are in real estate or mortgages.
Why this matters to us. There was years before this. Obviously, 2016 was 7 years ago at this point, but this is where Jill and I met. She was my boss at Lululemon, and we love to tell this story because we know all of your daughters really lean in when we say Lululemon.
And I know I probably sold a lot of you stretchy pants in this room. We both probably did.
We both probably did. We met
If you're
her-
wondering, like, wow, she looks really familiar. I get that a lot. I'm like, do you shop at Lululemon?
We worked at the Scottsdale Quarter. Jill was my boss. She was the store manager at the time. She hired me on as a seasonal employee. I owned a CrossFit gym at the time, which was beyond my wildest dreams. So when we touch on purpose and potential later, there's a lot in that. Because I thought that that was my purpose, right? We can get into things that we think in that moment are like, glory, hallelujah, I have reached my moment. Until you realize that you don't get paid enough and you've got to split checks with 2 other business partners. Then I got to go get a seasonal job at Lululemon, which in that moment turned out to lead to an incredible thing. And if I wouldn't have been open to seeing that, if I was just like, this is dumb, I'm working at a retail location while owning a gym, my life sucks, what's going on? I wouldn't have been able to see the path that led to us standing in front of you right here, right now. And honestly, I think God was in our initial interview. Actually, Lululemon does a funny thing where they interview you 17 times.
Wow.
I mean, she's exaggerating.
Okay,
At least like 4 or 5.
she was my final interview, and
When I was there, I don't know if things
maybe they might have changed it. But really, if your girls are looking for a job, have them apply at Lululemon. It was one of the best things we could have ever done for ourselves. But God was in our interview because literally we sat down at the Scottsdale Quarter outside by the splash pad. Her back was towards the stairs right by Zinberger, and I was facing the stairs watching this elderly woman try to walk down the stairs, and she ate it hard. And Jill was in the middle of a sentence, and I popped up and I ran over to this woman, and I tried to help her up, and she was so flustered and so embarrassed. She wasn't hurt. She, shoved me
away
off.
from me.
Get away from me. And
I'm
she did, and I've fallen in public several times. I'm very klutzy, so I understand her embarrassment. But I looked over at Jill, and I shot her this look, and I was like, "Did you plant that woman? Am I hired? Do I have a job?"
It was in that moment, because when you're in an interview, tell me about a time.
I showed her.
A hard customer experience or whatever it is. I didn't need to know any more about Mary because she showed me who she was.
You're going to see this slide a little later on in the presentation, but it says something along the lines, "In all of your doing, who are you becoming?" So in that moment, I wasn't doing a job interview. I was becoming something in that. I was sticking to my integrity, what I knew was right as a person, because how many people nowadays videotape something like that and put it on the internet, right? As opposed to standing up and helping that woman. If Jill and I would have just thought our job was selling stretchy pants at that moment, we wouldn't have been able to really see our purpose. Which leads us to this next slide, one of our favorite quotes. The prophet Mark Twain once said,
The prophet.
"The two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why." That's your purpose. The day you find out why, your purpose. So many human beings are out there seeking their purpose. And if you're too busy with your head down in the rat race of life, going through your to-do list, you're missing the opportunity to actually find your purpose. That's why this quote resonates so much with us, because we're not standing up here saying, "We found our purpose. We're here to teach you." We found a lily pad along the way. Girls mentorship might not be our end goal. We might walk through a completely different door that girls mentorship led us to from doing this work, but we feel good about keeping our head up and continuing to seek out more opportunity to find out what that is. And we challenge the girls we work with to do that every single day we work with them. It's beyond school. It's beyond sports. It's beyond grades. There's so much more to those things, and we really, really try to harp on the fact that those things don't define who they are. But it can be very hard for them to see that if that's all they're told to focus on.
So let's talk about the first point. And we're calling it a problem because we want to unpack this with you. Because sometimes we're walking around thinking we need to find our purpose, when really what we need to be doing is looking at what we're doing and doing it better. You're not going to just drop into a purpose. We want you to see that where you are right now is purposeful. And I guarantee you, ladies, being a mom is the most purposeful job, right? You don't need to go start a nonprofit. You don't need to go and build a business. You don't need to do any of those things. Your job, that is the most purposeful job on this planet, and I'm speaking from me being a mom, is that role. And we also have to be careful that our soul identity isn't tied up into doing that. But you being a job, you having that as a job, whether it's your full-time job or you're doing it in addition to you working, how do you do it better? How do you do your job that you're currently doing better? We're not asking you to go on this hunt of, well, I've been trying to figure out what my purpose is. Your purpose is who you're being. Because jobs are going to come and go. Experiences are going to come and go. But people are going to remember how you made them feel. And I want that to really sit with you for a second.
Including the people closest to you. And sometimes we take that relationship for granted. I'm coming from a place of I with that. Sometimes we breeze over our loved ones because we know they love us, right? Sometimes we say things to our loved ones that we wouldn't say to a friend because we know they're gonna be at our home later. They don't have anywhere else to go, right? So it's the same as that. Your purpose is exactly what Jill just said. It's who you're being. It's who you get to be. Not only for yourself at the base level of that, but everyone else around you. And that's different than your potential.
Yeah.
Your potential is all of those things you could be doing. And in the age of distraction, that's a lot of things, right? How many of you here have either heard or told somebody they have great potential somewhere? Nobody?
Oh, 3 of you. Thanks so much. Oh, we got a fourth. Okay, cool.
Right? Potential's great. I've heard it. Wow, you're so good at softball. You could play professionally. Wow, you're so, and it's like, oh, I am? Oh my God, I'm gonna go follow this path, and I completely ignore everything else that I want to be doing based on what everyone else is telling me that I'm good at, right? We need room to be able to explore who we are sans other people's opinions of us, other people's expectations of us. And that might be hard to hear as a parent because you do expect things of your daughters. You do see great potential with them in this area. You want them to shine here, but maybe they don't want to shine there and they're too scared to tell you that they don't want to shine there. And then 30 years later, they're like, dang it, I have this degree and this thing that I really don't like because somebody 30 years ago told me I had great potential in it.
And I'm just gonna say that slide of Mary and I, when we were both working at Lululemon, I graduated from college, got into corporate America, and then got laid off in the recession in 2008. Worked in the wine industry, which was really fun, by the way. But then there was still something else in me that was telling me that wasn't it. But at the time of me selling wine in the grocery stores, that was fun, I found yoga. Yoga was my outlet. I loved it. I loved it so much. And I'll never forget a woman wearing these bomb-ass pants. I was like, wow, where did you get those pants from? And she said, Lululemon. And I was like, what? So I came home, and I'm not kidding, the rest of the evening, I researched the company. And for some reason, I was like, that company is me. I am this company. The next day, I went down to the little store at the Borgata. It was a little pop-up store, if any of you remember that. And I applied. And they were like, we only have a part-time position available. And at that time, I was so incredibly miserable. I was like, anything. I would figure it out. I needed to quit that toxic job in order to really lean into what I was being called to do. But guess what? The first person that I called was my mom. And I was like, Mom, I'm gonna work at a yoga store! This is so awesome! What? I just paid 4 years of college and you're gonna go sell retail? And in that moment, I was like, I am so less than.
Because when is a seed, when is an idea the easiest to kill? In seed form, right? So when we tell other people our excited ideas, right? The little things that really matter to our girls, and they come to you and they're like, oh, I'm so excited about this, and you're like, you're excited about that? And maybe we don't even know we're doing it in the moment, but literally an idea is the easiest to kill in seed form. So if they're excited about something and you show up not as excited, which you don't have to be excited about it, but you can fake it, because maybe, just maybe,
okay, tell me more.
Right? After 10 years of Jill working at Lululemon, that company poured into us. We took absolutely every opportunity we could to take advantage of situations like this, personal growth and development to boot. They put us through Landmark, they did vision and goals all day, every day. It was awesome. 10 years later, it leads to us starting our own company based on a lot of the values and things that we learned there.
And guess who was my biggest cheerleader when I was growing in the company? My mom.
After she realized that she had potential.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm so glad. Yeah, that she's like, wait, you're leading a region? That's scary. But I'm so glad that in that moment, I didn't go back to me feeling like, well, okay, maybe I need to go back into corporate America. And not to say Lululemon is not corporate, but it was definitely out of the box. But the more that I grew, the more money I made, the more impact I was having. I mean, I was running teams, hundreds of people. I was traveling all over the country. I was training trainers. My mom was like, that's my girl. But I'm like, remember when I asked you that I was gonna get paid $11 an hour and I was a part-time seasonal employee? We were having a very different conversation.
I don't know her.
Yeah, I'm like, she was like, okay, why don't you go figure that out and then call me when you need money. I was like, okay, yeah, cool.
So, just be ready for those calls, just kidding. So we talked about this a little bit in goal setting. We set a lot of big goals, whether those goals are set for ourselves or whether those goals or expectations are for our girls. We've seen a couple of different things happen. One is falling short of that goal and feeling less than. Two is hitting the goal and suffering from a goal hangover. Bonus is breezing right past the goal as if the goal didn't even happen. You're like, got it, did it, bye, what's the next goal, right?
Yeah.
We have a tendency to do three of those things. So these pictures are very poignant for us because that first one above feeling short and feeling less than is us running a workshop. We had pretty good success. We'd started hosting monthly workshops about 1.5 years ago now, and we were getting like 20, 25 girls in a workshop each one, and this one, come December, had 3. And we were like, womp womp.
Is it us?
Just 3? Did we do something wrong? Is this not what we should be doing, right? How many of us question what we should be doing based on a result that we didn't expect to have happen? It's like, I guess I'll pick up something else. Maybe I'll, somebody, the 15th person that wound up in my DMs about this new network marketing company, maybe I'll do that,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't it. Because we knew we were in our purpose. So whether it was 25 girls or whether it was 3 girls, we knew we were there to pour into those girls because regardless.
We were called to do it. Regardless. We were called to be in that room and impact those 3 girls. Didn't matter.
The next picture is us at summer camp. We threw a summer camp this summer and we had 140 girls come through. So definitely a huge juxtaposition from the picture right next to it. And that, we planned for 5 months for a summer camp, and looking at it, like, those smiles on those faces are real and they're cheesy, and we were so freaking happy because 2 of us did it. We threw a summer camp with 140 girls that came through, and it was awesome. It was everything we expected it to be and more. And 3 days later, it was like, whoa.
Well, now what?
Now what? Because we just did this big, amazing thing, and now I feel totally empty because we don't have more big, amazing things on the calendar. So who are we? What are we doing? That's when imposter syndrome creeps in. That's when comparisonitis comes in. That's when
I'm not enoughness.
I'm
That's my
definitely
favorite.
not enough. It's like, dang, we just did this huge thing and everyone's giving us attaboys and patting us on the back, and now I don't feel like I'm actually good enough because now we're not going to do that summer camp anymore. It's past, so who are we, right? And that, we hear girls say that to us all the time. I lost my volleyball game. I'm not a good volleyball player. I don't know what to do now. I didn't get a good grade on that test. I'm not a good student. What do I do now? And it's like they're in their head around the goal as opposed to who they are becoming in pursuit of the goal. Which I think this next slide hit really, really far home for us because of all the things that I just described. It says the near obsessive focus of raising children to perform and achieve has had detrimental impacts emotionally. Children are being raised to be achievement machines, and at 30 they wake up and don't know who they are, what they feel, or how to love. And that includes others, and that includes themselves. And like we said when we first stepped on this stage, we're not here to make anybody wrong or call anybody out for this. We're coming from a place of experience, not only personally, but the girls we work with as well. It has detrimental impacts when we're just focused on what they are achieving, as opposed to what I just said, who they're becoming in the pursuit of what they're achieving. And that's what brings us to this slide, point number 2.
Human beings, not human doings. We love, love, love to talk about this. not only to our girls, but the people who care for them. So who goals versus do goals? And this is something that you all can reflect on over these next couple of days and when you drive back home and when you get back in front of your family. Who goals is who are you becoming in the goal process? Are you becoming perseverant? Are you becoming determined? Are you maybe realizing that you're overcommitting? Maybe you're realizing that you're lazy, right? You need to assess who you are becoming in the process versus just doing the goal. How many of you have ever had a goal to run a marathon? Okay, yep. Did anybody ever complete that goal? Oh, wow, good job, you guys, not me. Because I was like, I never ran before, but I'm gonna run a marathon. So of course, in my doing, I set out because I also wanted to look good in front of people. That's also another thing that's not on there, looking good goals, because it's gonna make you look a certain way. So I set out to run a marathon because I wanted to look good in front of my coworkers. This is when I was like in the thick of being at Lululemon. I hate running. Zero desire. If you guys see what's happening underneath this flannel, I got muscles upon muscles. I love yoga, I love throwing weights around, I love CrossFit. Running, no way, no how. So I set out to run, and right, I'm running like a couple of miles. People are like, you need a training plan. I'm like, what? I'm just gonna show up, I'm fit. No. So I never actually made it to the goal. It was all about doing and performing for other people. I never stopped to actually ask myself, what's in this for me? This brings me zero joy, none. And then what happened was that the slides a couple slides ago, it was all about like oh man, you know, I never did it. It was not even a hangover, it was just like, well, I'm a failure.
Well, and in that story, there was no focus on who she became in that process because it was never even a thought in her mind.
Never.
The only thought was, Seaweeds is amazing if that's the marathon.
Yeah.
So Lululemon does sort of this incredible marathon that everybody wants to go to because you get these fun colored shorts and the pictures are amazing. But again, it's the looking good goal.
It is! I was like, I can totally see myself running across the ocean.
It's in Canada. Like,
Yeah,
they really
never
set it up
made it
for
there.
success.
It's like, I'll just watch everybody from Instagram.
That's why I never signed up for it. I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So if we can put the emphasis on, yes, grades are great. Obviously, Xavier is an incredibly difficult school to get into, so bravo for raising academically incredible children. We know that having to maintain those grades with being probably a lot of them are in sports, we want them to perform well. We want them to come home with that grade point average that we get to put on the fridge and be like, that's my girl. I can put that sticker on the back of my car, right? But who are they becoming in the process? Are they becoming perseverant? Do they understand how to prioritize, right? If they've got a big project to do, are they saying no to friends in order to get that thing done, then to go hang out with friends? We like to pull those character qualities out of them so they know that that's what's important. Because when they graduate and maybe they go on to college, maybe they pick something else, they're never going to get another A again in their life. I have never gotten another A again in my life. I'm my own personal cheerleader. Jill gave me a couple of performance reviews, so they'll get that.
You're good enough to stay on this team.
Oh, thank God. You know, they'll get those. Of course they will, with wherever they decide to go in their life with whatever job. But they're never going to have to raise their hand to go to the bathroom again, right? It's up to them. And what we want to raise is sufficient, good, positive contributing members of society. And if they don't know that they're perseverant, if people aren't telling them that and actually highlighting those incredible qualities about them, they'll never know who they're becoming. They'll focus on what they're doing over and over and over again until they're burnt out and they wake up one day and have no idea who they are.
So allow that season, this season of high school, to be a puzzle piece for them. Same for you. Allow this chapter, this season of life to be a puzzle piece on who you're becoming.
And I already said it, this slide was going to pop up a couple of times, but we really like to emphasize this. In all of your doing, who are you actually becoming? And these Conversations, this whole presentation might seem really elementary, it might seem common knowledge, but unfortunately common knowledge does not mean common practice. So to be able to revisit this out in the woods, miles from our home, to really get to explore this question and then bring this question home to your family, your daughter in particular, you get to actually shine the light into who you are as a person. And if you don't like who you are as a person, if your daughter doesn't like who she is as a person, we're all progressing. We're not standing up here as perfect people, we're standing up here as progressing people. We are the main character of our lives. We get to kill off other characters in our movie if we don't want them to be there. Do you remember soap operas? It was like the days of our lives. Some character fell down the elevator shaft and they were never seen again, right? You are the main character of your soap opera. You're writing the script. Your daughter is writing her script. It's not your movie, it's her movie. So if you don't like who you're becoming or where you are, you get to change that. You can erase the script and rewrite it whenever you want to. And not enough people know that.
And that brings us into our third point, which is being in choice. We have choice in everything that we do. You want to know what you're in control of? You want to know what your daughter's in control of? You're in control of your attitude, your effort, your essence. So how you take up space, how you show up in a room, your energy, your thoughts, and your words. You have choice in that. And sometimes when we're human doings, we forget who we're being. And if we can start asking ourselves the question, we always love to say this, our insides need to match our outsides. And if we're spending more time on our outsides, this is a wake-up call for all of us to check back in on how we are loving ourselves. How are we giving ourselves grace and compassion and love? How are we treating our leaky gut? Give me that 30 all the time. We have like we're gluten-free. I'm like, I don't get it. What happened? I have bread my whole life. I don't get that. So my sweet grandmother, she's 90. She is like, you want to talk about a Catholic saint? It is Joanne Krupka. And this sweet little angel is living with my mom in Colorado. And if there's one cheerleader in my life, it's her. She sends me prayer cards, she prays the novena, I mean all the things for Mary and I to be successful. And she sent this to me not too long ago, and I wanted to share this with all of you because it actually struck me. I was like, man, does she have so much wisdom. It says, hate has 4 letters, so does love. Enemies has 7 letters, so does friends.
Lying has 5 letters, so does truth. Negative has 8, and so does positive. You get the picture from here. It's about our perspective. And we're not saying don't feel things. We're not saying go up. We're not saying don't hold negative feelings towards other people. But you have choice in what you're doing with those feelings as opposed to sitting in them, right? Because we all have things going on in our life. Your daughters all have things going on in their life that can impact their day-to-day, how they show up, right? Something bad happens and it ruins our whole day. Anybody been there? Flat tire? Anything. You can think of anything, right? What we know about psychology, if we sit in that mood too long, it winds up becoming a temperament. So it's like, oh, don't worry about my mom. She's always that way, right? I'm sure none of you have ever heard that.
Thank God, no one in this room.
No. What we know about a temperament then is if you stay in that too long, it winds up becoming a personality. And what we know about your personality is that your personality is your personal reality. And it impacts literally everyone around you. So are you a stressed out Sam? Are you an overwhelmed Oliver? That probably stemmed from one thing that happened that ruined your day, that ruined your week, that ruined your month, that you didn't have the tools or the self-awareness to see that you were getting in your own way. And if we're not careful, then we pass those genes, that situation, that way of being, onto our daughter.
It's like avatars, like your tail and her tail, like they link up, and all of a sudden she adopts that.
way of being.
We want everyone.
So I say all that to say we have choice in how we show up regardless of what life throws our way. Again, back to the question, is life happening to us or is life happening for us? We get to choose. I was ahead of my slide. I should have just let that lead. Lastly, problem number 4. The present can either hinder your future or help your future. So how is what you're going through right now, right in this very moment in time, setting you up for success for where you're supposed to be in the future? I had no idea that teaching CrossFit, I owned a gym for 6 years, I coached 8 classes a day, right? That's a lot of repetitiveness. By the end of the day, I hated my own jokes. Everybody else thought they were funny, and I'm like in my head, I just can't wait to go home and not talk anymore. I can't stand my own voice. I had no idea that garnering those skills and refining those skills was going to lead to coaching teenagers, because it's really helpful to be able to repeat myself 54 times. Does anybody understand that? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second point is don't make purpose a position. And I know we've already called, we've already called this out. So sports, school, your job, house, relationship, money, and competition. Your purpose should not be a position. You're not, if anybody is in corporate America or that has a job, you're not gonna be happier when you get that position.
Just like you're not going to be happier when you buy that new car, right? Because somebody else is going to have that new car. And this is something we have to talk to our girls about a lot, because they see somebody else having something.
They see Gucci and Fucci and Lulu and Boohoo. It's like, oh my gosh, that does not make her any better than you.
At all.
At all.
We've already called this out. Your value is not in what you're doing.
It's who you're becoming. All of those character traits, it's who you are already being. You just have to pull those things out of yourself and do them better.
So how?
Anything in life. I like to bring up the example of a bad boss. Has anybody in here ever had a boss that they were like,
Nobody knows. We all remember that one.
just kidding, not you. And on this, that's a double-edged sword too. You probably had good bosses, right? You remember how they showed up for you, and you've probably taken on some of their qualities and implemented them in your day-to-day. Same with the bad boss. You're like, I'm never showing up like that. I'm never showing up like that because I don't ever want to make anybody feel the way that person made me feel. So in the jobs that we didn't want to do, we were refining our character to be exactly who we are today.
Which leads us to a fun story.
Remember us?
Do you remember them? Those girls from 2016?
In 2016, look at me. I'm holding up a word which I laugh now. I'm like, adventurous. Whoa! I am so far from that word.
She found a spider in our bed and she was like, Mary! Get in here!
Yeah, oh man, I love looking back and being like, man, I have refined who I've become.
Well, in my word's contentment, and I really felt it in that moment because I owned a CrossFit gym, and that was literally what I thought the pinnacle of success for me was going to be. I was also working at Lulu and getting a huge discount on my CrossFit gym clothes. I was like, I have reached success.
I am content.
Right? And it's fun to look back now and see that that was just a blip on the radar for us. And in all that we were doing, in all the difficult conversations we had to have while working retail or running a CrossFit gym and doing, in all of the doing, we were really focused on who we were becoming, and that showed. It showed so much that even people who have never met us, people in person, people out online that follow our Instagram account can feel that. They can draw that from our character. And that's really what we want to instill in girls. How are you showing up online? How are you showing up at home? How are you showing up at sports, in your job? And is it congruent with who you say you want to be? And we get pings from this all the time. And this next slide is one of the most exciting things that has happened to us Whether it comes to fruition or it doesn't, it showed us that how we're being is exactly who we set out to be.
And never in a million years when we were slaying stretchy pants that we ever thought we would read something like this.
So it says, hi there, I work for a show on A&E and I'm looking for some potential scholarship mentorship for 2 teenage girls of a drug-addicted mother. I'd love to have a conversation to see if your services might be a match for these 2 girls who have had a rough life.
I sent this to Jill and I was like, this is an interesting message. I'm gonna do a little research, aka I'm gonna sleuth a little. So I'm gonna go on Facebook and I'm gonna go on Instagram and I'm gonna go on LinkedIn and I'm gonna look up who this lady is because I don't know. Turns out she's the executive producer for a little known show called Intervention. She's been there for 17 seasons. I have no idea how she found us. I have no idea how she wound up in our inbox, but it gave us such a boost of confidence to know that regardless of if you've ever met us, we are who we are, who we are. What you see is what you get. The energy that we bring, the message that we shout, what we teach the girls that we want them to walk away with is exactly how we're showing up for absolutely everyone that comes across our path. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. The goal isn't the good grade, the next car, the college that your girls get into. It's who they are as people. Who are you teaching them to be? And how are you teaching them to be that? Are you just expecting them to show up in a certain way? Are you voicing that to them, putting your hand out and saying, come along, let me show you how to do it. And along the way, I'm gonna be learning a lot about myself as well.
I rise, you rise.
Well, and just in case if you ever thought we weren't teenage girls at heart.
This was our text
This
exchange.
is the message exchange after we
Mary, what is happening? I was like, oh my gosh, what the? Yeah.
Insert 4-letter word here.
Insert, yeah, your favorite 4-letter word, but never in a million years. When my mom told me that she laughed at me working at Lululemon, I could have totally gone, I could have been distracted and gone a different direction, but I knew there was a reason why I went there. I really feel like God called me there to meet this one. And this one, being an employee of mine, if you guys have ever had a boss-employee relationship, I really tried not to be friends with my employees because I had to performance manage them. But there was something really special about Mary because she gave me feedback. She was my eyes and ears on the ground. And the girl that I interviewed was the same person over the 4 years that we worked together. And we left cordially. I left on my own in 2018 to go on this path of entrepreneurship. And then I also realized I had no friends. I had no friends besides my Lululemon friends. And it was her. She was like, hey, I have this awesome community of women. We do like cool networking events. Come along and I'm gonna bring you along. And thank God, I showed up to her as inspiring, as impactful, because I never wanted to burn a bridge with the people I worked with, because I never knew when it was going to come back around and serve me.
Well, and I think it was the great theologian George Michael that said, you gotta have faith. you gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. You gotta know.
I mean, he really was a theologian.
But you have to have faith that what you're doing right now, who you are right now, is serving.
All of you.
It's serving the
all
season
of
you're
you
in.
sitting in these chairs. I mean, we see it. And I hope you got a little glimpse of it when you read and saw the videos last night of your daughter seeing that in you. We're not asking you to go and do all the things. Just
Or
look
add
at,
more to your plate.
just
That's
look
not-
at what you're doing and do it better. That's it. Because
Oh, it did. It said the F word. Sorry about it.
oh, it did. Sorry.
She animated it, Slida. She animated those beads.
Sorry.
You know, like I said, we're not perfect people. We're progressive
That's
people.
right. That's true. That's true.
We know you have questions
Yes.
already to be at your table, but we would love if you took a picture of these, and whether you took them just to reflect on your own, or you took them home and had conversations with your daughter about them. I think the one, I'll get out of the way. I think the one we would really love you to talk about now out of these is, what impression do you want to leave with people?
No, sorry. The what is the impact you want to have on your daughter?
Just kidding, got one. Two of them. The impression you want to leave, and what impact you want to have with your daughter. Thank you for all taking out your phones and taking pictures. Obviously, we're going to be here. We're going to walk around the space and have conversation and questions with you all. But if you want to follow our journey and see what we're up to, like we said, we do work with the volleyball team at Xavier. We would love to be integrate into more of the teams. We know the mental side of things is probably more important than the physical side of things in a lot of ways. So if you've got an in or a pull and want to elbow somebody in the gut, all these girls, just kidding. But please follow our journey. Drop in on us. Let us know how we can support you, how we can support your daughter. It's literally, we've dropped into our purpose, and I can't even explain the feeling that comes with standing in front of a room like this and sharing our passions with you all, in knowing that all we're trying to do is impact the next generation of incredible leaders to be the best, brightest, and most confident versions of themselves. So,
Go on and prosper, ladies.
we